Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I am ready to do my first impressions on this wonderful knife. This is the Brian Brown Yeager-M, and it is a production version of his custom Yeager model. There have been two runs of these now. The first one, as I understand it, was manufactured by Wee Knives. This run was manufactured by Reate Knives. I feel like I was told that there were 300 of these made. That sounds about right, based on the runs of knives that Reate has been doing kind of in this form and fashion lately, like the Birch Tree Sea Cant was also 300 knives. So I think that would make sense. There were a couple of variants of this, some full titanium models. This one, which has the micarta inserts, and then there were some that were like worked on by Fanatic Edge. So I've seen some. My buddy Jake has one with the frag pattern milled into it. I've seen some that are coated. I think my buddy Brad has one that's coated. So there's a few options that seem to have kind of come out. I missed the boat on this one, regrettably. But luckily, Kevin over at Lefty EDC picked this one up and was willing to let it go to me. So I got this from Kevin, and I've carried this 2 days now, so I'm, I guess, a little bit behind on doing my first impressions, but I've been enjoying it a lot. It's a really cool knife. So if you watched my unboxing, you'll have seen I was really excited for this one. This is one of those knives that on paper and looking at it in pictures and videos before getting it, I just had a really strong hunch that this is when it was going to be a favorite. I love knives that are manufactured by Reate. I like Brian Brown's style, and he's a cool dude. He was on a fun live chat, what they call FFIB, Finger Flicked Inbox, in the Millie Club a couple of weeks ago now. I plan to have him on my podcast soon. And seems like a really cool maker. He's somebody that I want to talk to, which is why I've asked him to come on the podcast. And his knives are appealing to me. I like the shapes he plays with. I like just the aesthetic and what I perceived to be what the form factor would be like, and now have confirmed by holding this one. Just a cool maker. So I'm really glad that he did this run with Reate, and I'm super stoked that I have one. So far, to kind of set the stage, like I said, I've carried it twice. Once as a primary, once as a secondary. This is definitely too big to be a secondary knife for me, but I was carrying another even bigger knife that day, and so I snuck it in as my secondary because I really wanted to carry it. But yeah, that was 2 days ago now. Yeah, didn't carry it today. Anyway, so 2 times. I've already done a little bit of work with it. I did have to process a whole bunch of cardboard 2 days ago, and this was in my back pocket then as a secondary, and I used that opportunity to cut up all that cardboard with a couple of different knives, just because there's a few things I wanted to feel out a little bit, but I did process a couple of large boxes for the dumpster with it. Haven't done any zip ties yet, I don't think, but I've opened quite a few boxes. I've processed a lot of cardboard, and yeah, I would probably open some envelopes or something, but I'll be using and carrying it a lot more by the time I'm ready to do my full review. So that's kind of where I'm coming at it from, first impressions wise. That's how much use and carry I'm in it for. Yeah, let's just kind of go over some of the strong suits of this knife. I'll probably save my more typical format of carry, cutting, ergos, and action for the full review in terms of like really long form talking it out. But let me just share some of what I've noticed about it so far to keep this relatively concise. So first things first, the way that this micarta is set into the titanium, this inlay if you will, I think is just brilliant. It looks really good. It feels really good. It is a cool way to have a titanium frame lock but also have micarta. It just seems seamless. It all fits up really nice. It's gorgeous. The micarta does sit a little bit proud of the titanium, so it's not like I can't feel where the micarta starts and the titanium ends. There's a little bit of a kind of lip there, but it all feels very smooth and uniform. It just looks great. And then the fact that they didn't stop with the show side, but that they put this micarta kind of strip and on this side as well, on the lock side. I think it just looks fantastic. I wasn't sure how well this milled titanium clip would do for me carry-wise. So far, no complaints. And ergonomically, it's an awesome clip. I'm finding that the clip doesn't bother me one bit. I do still prefer deep carry, loop-over style clips. If this had a loop-over deep carry clip that came all the way to the butt end of the knife, of course, that would make me happier. But I'm finding I like this clip. It's a lot of fun to play with so far. Yeah, we'll dig into action in the full review, but I have been non-stop playing with this knife and enjoying it. It's just, for me, my preferences, holes are greater than studs. I prefer holes to studs. Nah, I mean, I love to middle finger flick. I recently did a tutorial. That was terrible because I'm trying to do it in focus and in front of my face. I recently did a tutorial video on how I middle finger flick and just kind of laying out my technique for it. And genuinely, if a knife can be middle finger flicked, that's the way I will open it most of the time. It's just the way that I like to open knives, and it feels enjoyable, and it puts my hand in a position I find where it's easy and natural to then grip onto the knife, and it just works for me. This one, when I get it, can be thumb flicked as well with this hole, but that's not the way I like to open it, even though it works. I just want to middle finger flick this all day long. Some of these came out with flippers in addition to the hole. I don't think there were any without the hole. I'm pretty sure it was this or this with a flipper tab. Now, what I'm finding so far is I'm really, really glad that I went with this configuration. I didn't really choose. This is the one that became available, but I was lucky in the sense that this is exactly the spec I would have picked for myself if I had pre-ordered one or gotten one on the drop. This is what I wanted. The flipperless, just the hole with the micarta inlays. So I'm really glad that that's the way it panned out, because I don't find myself longing for a flipper tab on here. I don't think I'd use it very often. I prefer to middle finger flick it, right? But then on top of that, I also find myself choking up to here quite a bit, and I'm not positive where the flipper tab exactly would sit. I'll have to look at a picture. I imagine it would be somewhere like right here, and that's right where my finger goes to choke up on here. So the fact that it doesn't have that flipper tab gives me an additional spot or an additional grip on the actual handle of the knife, and it really works as not like a forward choil, but kind of a forward flat, kind of like on the Axon or any Vero for that matter, how there's this flat up here that is designed so that you can use it as a finger placement and hold the knife up here. I love, and a lot of people have said, by the way, that there's a lot of similarities between these two knives. I see it, yeah, for sure. And I love both. It makes sense. But yeah, the fact that this one doesn't have the flipper tab, so I do have that flat spot, just really enhances it for me. I like that I can choke up like that and get a nice controlled grip over this blade, get up closer to the edge. It feels nice. So yeah, this version, it is just right. I didn't just think it was just right. I'm very happy that this is the spec that I have. The size is really, really good for me. I'm finding that the weight doesn't bother me one bit. This isn't a super heavy knife. It's not super light either, but it does have a bunch of internal milling, and it feels balanced. It's great. I really, really like it so far. So I don't have anything earth-shattering to share in my first impressions. It's more so just that it's going really, really well, and I imagine that my review is probably going to end up glowingly positive. But yeah, I'll share some of my kind of more in-depth thoughts and findings for that, and I'll wait until I've had some more carry, had some more use, and just kind of put the knife through its paces a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, this thing, look at it. It's just, I don't know. For my tastes, this is about as good looking as a knife can get, honestly. This is one of my favorite looking knives I think that I've ever had. It's just fairly unique. It's not overly complex, but it looks like maybe a little bit futuristic, but it's not really, I don't know. It's really, really cool. So I guess those are my first impressions. a little bit all over the place for this one, but so far that's where I'm at with the Yeager-M. I freaking love this thing so far, and if you get the chance to snag one, it's going to be secondary only at this point. These are have long been all sold at this point by the time I'm showing this video. If you get the chance to snag one for a reasonable price on the secondary and you're at all interested in this knife, I definitely recommend it. I feel like I heard somewhere, I want to say Brian even messaged me back. Give me 1 second. All right. So after my unboxing, I had sent the video to Brian so he could watch it in case he wanted to. He said it was the first time anyone had called him a wizard. I'll reiterate, Brian Brown is a wizard because of this knife. But to answer some of the questions I had as I unboxed it, it was 300 pieces for this batch, and he said more coming. So there are more coming, but it sounds like they're going to be dealer exclusives. And then he is also opening up a pre-order for a fixed blade. I think as of when this goes live, the fixed blade pre-order will be in just a few days. Check Brian Brown on Instagram. That's where I see most of the stuff. He also has a Facebook group that I'm in, and is very cool. So yeah, that's where you'll find the details on the pre-order. Plus, I think it'll be on his site. I'll link his site and his Instagram down below just to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, so 300 for this run. That's all there were, but there are more coming. There'll be dealer exclusives, and his next pre-order is on his little fixed blade, which is kind of cool. It's a very similar, if not the same, blade shape to this, but it's a fixed blade, and it's ringed. Like, the end of the handle is a ring, which isn't usually my thing, but I'm tempted to give it a shot. I don't know yet if I'm going to pre-order that one, because ringed knives aren't really my speed, but I love this, and I think he's a cool maker, and it does look cool, so I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's your last little bit of info, I guess, straight from the mouth of Brian Brown. Hopefully that answers some other people's questions too. And it illuminates that I have a terrible memory, because he messaged me that just a couple of days ago, and here I am talking about it and couldn't remember pretty much any of that. So anyway, this has been the Yeager-M, and I freaking love it. I've probably said that too many times at this point, but I'll say it again. I freaking love this knife. It's fantastic, and I'm so stoked that I have one. And yeah, there will be a full review on it soon, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks, guys.